so that you guys will be able to come with me wherever I may be. But built today was for the skid steer, and check this out. Oh, is it gonna work here? Dual cameras. Oh goodness, I got my angles wrong. Dual cameras so that we can flash back and forth. There'll be a little bit of growing pain here, but I think it's gonna be awesome. I got rid of the hokey setup I had last winter and built a professional rig that is gonna be awesome. So we're gonna be moving some logs today. Sorry, gentlemen. I don't know what happened here. I had a brand new... Oh, my microphone just came apart. All the screws fell out. I've never seen that before. I apologize. So here's what we're going to do, gentlemen. We're going to do a little microphone switch. So this is going to be interesting. So there was no audio the whole time? Is that what you're telling me? Good grief. All right. Tried to buy the best equipment possible, and I've never had my Sennheiser microphones ever give me trouble. And it looks like little machine screws fell out and the battery lost contact. So we're gonna run back to the shop, grab another microphone. Oh goodness, let her buck, and swap it out, because the onboard mic's not gonna work very good. Nice to see you as well, Kaya. We're in the process of getting all this stuff crated up and moved over, put away for winter. Did I mention this is a test stream? Okay. So I'm gonna go grab a different mic. While I'm doing that, I'll put you guys in charge of watching the instrument panel. How's that? Make sure everything's just A-okay there. What's going on with my microphone? The hardest job in the world is streaming, I tell you. There's so many moving parts. Okay, let's figure out what's going on here with this guy. So this lab mic, look at that. Goodness, I've never seen that before. See how it's coming apart? I looked up, I have a green light that tells me that the audio is all good. Oh, there's the red one. It should be green. And that was out. How is that held together? That's the first one of those I've ever broken. Wow, amazing, interesting. All right, well, give me about 2 minutes and I will be right back. I'll put you back in charge of those instruments right there. Keep an eye on those things for me, gentlemen. I'm gonna try to unpack myself from this thing. It's a little cramped in here for me. Back, gentlemen. Oh. We'll have some crystal clear audio here in just a second. Get back to our work. We got all green light so far. Check, check. How's that audio for you? Is that any better? Should be. All right, let's go get those logs sorted before the snow hits. Red Loctite, not blue Loctite for that. Yeah, Kevin, I've still got the Yanmar. Oh, how's that audio, by the way? If the audio is clean, give me ones in the comment. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. There's going to be a little background noise. Okay, that's good. That's what we should have had the first time. It's definitely a malfunctioning. It's snowing right now. I don't know if you guys can see it. It probably doesn't come through on the camera at this frame rate. But it might turn white on us here. Yeah, Kevin, I'm running off the phone. The 5G. Let's see, that big boy there is kind of in our way. We better make a plan here before I start moving too much stuff around. I'll give you guys pull you back here a little bit. Maybe something more like that. Hello, Gearbud. I'm doing well. Good to see you here. Yeah, this is a caterpillar. Somebody was asking. So we've got this big giant guy we got to deal with. I'm not going to be able to pick it up and carry it, but I can roll it around. Oh goodness, we have a super chat. Our friend Jason Barr. Shout out to you, Jason. Welcome. Still in prototypes on my mount here, but it's looking pretty good. So, Jason, what did he write here? Oh goodness, where'd my chat go? So how do I get my chat back there? Oh, I see. I'm learning. Thank you for carrying. This is pro-ho content. Yep, that's right. That's what we're doing here, all the time. Pro-ho content. But thank you for that. We'll get it. I got a bomber mount for my phone and mic. It's really good. I just need to finalize all the equipment mounts, but I should be able to just go click, click, click and snap into whatever we're driving. Okay, so Mrs. W doesn't want to see these things. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I thought it would be a good idea to put all of this junk right out the picture window of the Mount Fuji, and Mrs. W thought otherwise, so I'm moving it. So I got to figure out where to put it. I guess it's just got to be out of sight. So maybe I'll take it over and kind of stage it over there by the sawmill, neat and orderly. That'll look nice. So yeah, that's what we'll do. So let's start stacking that. let's start dividing it into two piles. The short ones and the long ones. Let's go find a spot. Oh, the camera didn't like it when I engaged turbo speed. Yeah, I love this skid steer. It feels like, it's just like having I think of it as an exoskeleton, especially with the frostbite grabber on it. I take on the alien with this thing. If I get flamethrower on there. Alright, so let's stage these things. How do you want to do that? Maybe sideways here. I've already got my topsoil piles going. At least we'll keep all the hazards in one spot. Cold this morning. It was what was it, about, I think it was 28 degrees or so, 26, 28 degrees. They didn't say anything about snow, but it has been snowing for the last hour. But I do see sunlight, so I don't think it's really going to amount to much. Yeah, nice sprinkling. Wouldn't that be that'd be so beautiful tonight? I just spoke with Mrs. W, and she's was in Florida, flew into Florida right when that last hurricane came in, and was in the worst part with the evacuation. So she decided to leave early, and a good thing she did, and got out and back to a safe place in the Midwest. But it's hard to believe that happened. Yeah, strange times indeed. We've got a super chat from Board Sweet. Shout out to you, Board Sweet. He writes, well, I can't write in between here. Do I use my glasses or? It's hard and old. I'm confused. Haven't you finished the firewood for the winter yet, or are you preparing for next spring? Yeah, these are all rounds for next year. All of our firewood, we do it a year in advance. So this is stuff that will be cut up then. So it'll sit here. We might start bucking it up a little bit, and then it'll dry through the summer, and then next fall we'll gather it up. But thank you for that. Yes, I've been fishing. You guys want to go? We can go down and take a look at the river here. It's been really high, the water. We have a super chat from the bored Swede. Oh, I got that one wrong. Goodness, nothing but the best production here. You have a man operating his absolute limits. There we go. Jason Barr. When we name the skid steer Killdozer, we should talk about Killdozer. Well, I know all about Killdozer. I know the story of a man that was just pushed too far and was treated unfairly and his business destroyed, and he felt like the opposite to retaliate, and so he was a welder fabricator, I believe. He built a armor-plated dozer and went on a tirade in town and tore a bunch of stuff, and ultimately, killed in the event. But killed. If we start using that, the algorithm is going to kick out. I think they pretty much, haven't they pretty much wiped all of that content that was there, the old videos? I don't know. That stuff is taboo. The powers that be, they don't like people seeing that, getting any ideas, because what one motivated man can do, it was kind of demonstrated there. But thank you for that. We have a super chat from that was Jason Barr. No, we got it. Yeah, the river's pretty high here. There we go. No, it's not really. It's actually, it went down. It was higher a couple days ago. It's pretty clear right now. But boy, is it cold, man. It comes right off the glacier. That's a big old log there, but I guess maybe we should start rolling that over. Well, the ones behind it are pretty big too. Killdozer. I think Mr. Barr is the sleeping intellectual in the group. He seems to know a lot about a lot of things, or a little about a lot of things. Oh, I missed a super chat, did I? Okay, let me go back here. Oh, from Christopher Berg. Sorry, Christopher. Here, let me switch that around here. Shout out to you, Christopher. Thank you for that. Let me grab your question here. I got a second phone coming. I'll be able to have it in hand, maybe, so I won't keep touching the silly camera. He writes, I wish I could give you 100, but I can't. After the decade of entertainment, maybe I will give more next. Oh, it doesn't matter. Thank you. We really appreciate that. Shout out to you. Glad to have you here. Oh, my voice is glitchy. Let me check my mic connection here. I don't know what's up with these guys here. Still glitching, huh? Well, let me know if it's glitching. If it sounds bad, I'll just unplug it. We'll just go off the phone mic. We have a backup system here. Signal interference. Yeah. Okay. We'll just pull it out there. We'll just go right onto the camera mic. Back to the drawing board, just when I thought I had it all figured out. Oh, it was peaking. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I had that. I could turn it down. Here, let me play. We'll try one more thing here. So I can adjust. I can take the level down. So I just turned the level down. I turned the level down to. I've got 4 bars to 1 bar. Maybe that will fix it. Does it sound better? We're back on the lav mic. Let me know ones if it sounds better, and if it's clipping, give me 2. Sounds better. Testing. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Make noise. All right, I'm trying to make noise here. We have a super chat from One Slick Guy. Shout out to you, One Slick Guy. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And we have a super sticker. Who's our friend there? Will Roos. Shout out to you, Will. Thank you for that. It got much quieter. Yeah, maybe turning that down. We could also, this lav mic makes like a little bubble. With that turned down, if I could get it a little bit closer to my mouth, it might block out some of that background noise from the engine. I need a Starlink. Yeah, we need a Starlink in the cat. So I've got the mic real close. Let's try that. This is an experimental or a test stream, guys, so we'll get it figured out. I think the technology is almost there to do this. Now, I have the camera gear and grip to take a live stream on a snow bike ride, the first snow bike ride up there on the fresh snow. It's just the internet. I don't think it's going to be reliable. We have a super chat from Jason Barr. Shout out to you, Jason, and thank you. He says, audio bad at the river, probably just the signal. Oh, it was bad at the river down there. Yeah, that could be. Well, my audio is, I'm only transferring back and forth right here to the deal. Let's try it one more time. We'll go back down to the river with the next log and see what happens. I'm really looking forward to the first snowfall when we get the blower on. We'll have to get that this weekend and maybe get that pulled out. I want to service it a little bit, grease all the fittings, and just do a test run, make sure everything's running properly. Yeah, that was fun doing the live streams in the blower last year, wasn't it? So we've got a comment. Kevin says, as a home audio professional, the ideal lab location is the length from the tip of the nose to the thumb. Oh, okay. With it extended. Okay, well that's what we have right now. I've always had mine maybe too far away and boosted up too high. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, the skid steer Faraday cage, it probably does. Now we don't need to be in a hurry and shaking the camera so much. I'll just slow it down a little bit here. That one's got a little snow on it. Chris B. Shout out to you, Chris, our newest member with the coveted West Coast hat avatar. All right, here we go. We're about to tackle that big giant guy right there, that big mean one. Oh, goodness. We have a super chat from Brian M. Shout out to you, Brian. And Brian writes, oh, my old getting old. Aiden the Kid, this is on your behalf. You'll learn more watching this channel than watching Logan Paul. Boy, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity. I watched a couple of his fights, Logan Paul's fights. And you know, obviously he's an amateur, but dude's big and strong. I wouldn't want to fight him, that's for sure. He looks like he punches hard too. Okay, are we gonna roll this big boy here? Okay, so this thing is probably what? That's got to be 36 inches diameter at the butt there, and 40 feet long, and soaking wet. Hello, Miss Beth. Good to see you here. Shout out to you, of course. That's automatic. Maybe we could roll it. Let me bring you down here a little bit, give you a better perspective. Let's see if we can roll this guy. Gotta find the balance point. My exoskeleton. I'm telling you guys, this is This might almost be as fun as a race car. Let's see, what am I doing here? All right, I'm gonna give it the beans. Oh, I was digging in the dirt. I gotta find just the right angle there. Stay out of the dirt. Kind of flip it. Without sticking me here. Well, it's super, super heavy. Oh, there's a knot on it. That's the problem. It's all right. We can just keep flopping it. Bring you back here a little bit. Give you a better view. What do you want to stop, Bob the Cat? Once it goes, can you stop? Oh, once it goes, can I stop it? I think so. Yeah, it's not going to go anywhere though. Yeah, it's kind of shaped like an oval. Yeah, knotty, tough to split. This is a piece of trash wood, isn't it? My plan is not to use this one for firewood. It's too punky. This one is going to be the hugu culture, or whatever that thing, you know, where you bury a log and then you plant on top of it, and it's like a nursery. So we'll bury it. That one knot is really tough right there. Oh, I gotta get a drink. Pardon me. So we need to change direction, so we'll rotate this end over here. Yes, I'm reading super chats. Oh, goodness. Oh, we have a super chat from our friend. Hold on, I'm trying to lock this guy out here. There we go. Flopped up on there. We have a super chat from our friend Overton Windex. Shout out to you. It's terrible. I used to have such good eyesight. Let me pull up your deal here. And he writes, in a Faraday cage, the size of the holes need to be smaller than the wavelength of the EM radiation. That's interesting. 5G wavelength is 1 millimeter. Skid steer is not affecting your cell signal. Yeah, with all this glass in it. Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering, you know, some guys buy those, they're concerned, like critical things ignition systems for their chainsaws or for backups for their generators, that they put them in Mylar bags and such to protect them from potential EMPs. And I don't begin to understand all of that, but I was wondering if an all metal shop like I've built with metal siding, pretty heavy gauge, and 5 yards of concrete and tons of rebar, would that protect, if you had equipment inside that, would that protect against an EMP? I've always wondered that. Maybe Overton knows that, can answer that. But thank you for that super chat. We have a super chat from Alex. Shout out to you, Alex, who writes, have you ever seen the new Starlink hardware for the motion user? Could be nice for snow blowing streams. Yeah, I was wondering about that today because my dad used to have one that he mounted on his sportsmobile that was a mobile internet, but that was really revolutionary back in the day. But I didn't know that they had one. Do you use a different antenna? Is it a mobile antenna that you use, or do you try to modify the existing one? I can't imagine that you do. There must be something different. But yeah, that would be something. If you could put like some Anderson connectors and mount that right on the top, that would be amazing, especially if it was somewhat portable. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I don't know anything about it. Oh, that's right. So that's what, yeah, Alex, so he says it is. It's a new antenna with no motor. So it's, oh, that's interesting. How do you get one? Is there a wait list for it? Is it something you could just order and buy right now? Yeah, wouldn't that be cool to have a portable Starlink? How big's the antenna? Could you put it on a backpack? It's an option when you order. It's kind of large though. Well, it wouldn't surprise me at all if before long there would be something that would be man portable. Can you imagine that? If you had a man portable receiver that you could carry in a backpack, the options. We could do live streams from all of the epic snow bike rides and all those cool things where there's no internet. It would be incredible. We have a super chat from our friend Joe Nelson. Shout out to you, Joe. Thank you for that. And Joe writes, really enjoying the live streams lately. Have you learned a lot from you over the years, and have used your videos to replicate some of the projects of my own shop. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Joe. That's very generous of you. Okay. Should we keep on rolling along here? Oh, that was a good roll. Goodness, we have our friend. Oh, my dry sausage fingers won't push on the button. Over to Windex, super chat from our friend Overton Windex. Shout out to you, Overton. And he's the long story. He's telling us. So I asked him, would a metal shop protect our stuff from an EMP? And he says, turn it off and back it off. It should work fine. So I have it unplugged. That's a good thing to know. So when you see the mushroom cloud, is it too late to unplug it? But thank you for that. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, I'm not surprised. That Jericho series and all of the propaganda, so many things that we just take as fact these days are nothing more than just what we were told in on TV in Hollywood. I've started, I've always enjoyed history, but now that I'm older, I have more time and read more history. Found out that the gunfights and the cowboy days and all of that and the regalia is all it's all Hollywood. It was never really like that. It's like it makes you want. Coming out of the Matrix it's hard, definitely hard. We have a massive super chat from our friend John Caniford. Shout out to you, John. Goodness, who writes, "Hey Cody, I think about you losing your dad much like I recently lost my dad. How do you pick up the pieces? How do you find yourself to move forward with life?" Oh, I'll tell you, man, it is hard. Mrs. W, always right after he died, she'd always ask me. I don't talk to her too much about these things, I'm not a woman. I'm not going to be burdening my wife with all my problems. It's for me, it's always been, for men, you keep things internal. So you just deal with them yourself the best you can. So she would always ask me, and do you want to talk about it? I'm like, no, I don't really want to talk about it. And I haven't really, I don't know, I have really dealt with it yet. I remember when my granddad died, I was very sad, but I didn't feel like was just had that deep grieving that you had just uncontrollable sobbing, that you experience from time to time when you experience real tragedy in life. And it wasn't for a couple years later, I think. And I made a video, I think, on that where I was just working in the shop, the old shop at the old homestead, and I was, you know, I was think I was doing was working with some of his old things. Maybe it was some of his leather on a project, and it just finally came over me after a couple years of the loss and what I had lost, and it dawned on me, and of course all of the regret that comes along with those, because our loved ones, we always take them for granted and think that they're going to be there next time we want to call or share an accomplishment or share a life experience, and then they can be taken from us and they're gone. So there's oftentimes regret if you didn't have time to say goodbye. Fortunately for me, I was able to be there. My sister and I, and my dad passed away with in our arms, the three of us together. So I wouldn't have thought that that was an important thing, but it is to me now. So that's somewhat comforting. But to be honest with you, I don't know if it really hit me. It's really hit me yet, like it had with my grandfather. It might just take some time. It might take the next tragedy. But it's been tough. The thing that's really been sad is what I really used to enjoy doing was when I had a particular accomplishment. The first person I would want to call, would be after my wife would be, call my father, and share. When we made 1 million subscribers and big events or just different things, he was always excited to follow. He followed everything so closely, and to be able to call and to share those things, or just to ask questions. And my dad always had the answers. He was a extremely intelligent man and very capable and always very confident and a natural leader, and was good under pressure. And I'd call up and with stressed out about something or not understanding how I'm going to get through this, and he always had a solution. And to have that foundation, he was a solid rock. He was the patriarch of our family, for sure. And when he passed away, well, what a thing not to have to fall back on. It really grows you up. Like I said, I think yesterday, and I guess what's helped me get through it was I don't know. I just have to. I have to, because I have to take care of my family, and I have to be I have to be that foundation now. I have to be that foundation for my son. I have to realize that you may think that it's easy to, I guess, easy to maybe look back on your parents, especially the boomer generation. Why didn't you set us up? Why didn't you give us more? Why weren't you less selfish? But you know, you, there were things that were given, by my dad that I didn't realize, until right now talking with you. That just always being that steadiness, being there for me, and taking that burden of never being just being unflappable, and having a solution, having time. He was a good man. On our honeymoon, we had, I was working full-time job trying to do my doing my Jeep parts business and renovating our house. We had that torn down to the studs, and it was really maxed out. And Mrs. W and I we went down to Mexico for a week or so for our honeymoon. And when I had come back, and the upstairs bathroom was torn down to studs. When I came back, him and my mom had tiled the whole thing and finished the whole thing, including putting the sink. It was 100% done. It was beautiful. And my dad was a master tile setter. And
I guess I just want to be able to my son to have this conversation in the future, and to be able to just to, I don't know how you get through it. I can't say that I have. It's sad. It's hard. It's hard. But we have to get up. We have to. You can't just lay down and fold. You have to go on because your little ones, your kid, and your kids and your family are relying on you. So that's the burden of leadership. You know, white privilege, huh? All right. Shall we continue? Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for that. It was very generous of you. We have a super. Oh goodness, I'm touching buttons I'm not supposed to be touching here. We have a super chat from our friend. Oh, I'm pushing the buttons. I'm pushing them. My sausage fingers. Joe Nelson. Shout out to you, Joe. Joe writes, he says he's really been enjoying the live streams lately. Have learned a lot. Or do we read that one already? Well, it doesn't matter. Double shout out to you, Mr. Nelson. Thank you. All right, let us proceed. Oh, it's a mean old world we live in, gentlemen. Remember, this is not our home. We're just in occupied territory. Boy, that's a big old knot. I have to kind of tackle it a little differently there. I'd say we're halfway there. Maybe more. No, we're way more than that. We're 3/4 of the way there. Hook it from below. Oh, we had our first rollback, goodness. We got it now. My neighbor's probably watching me thinking I'm the biggest fool in the world. We, we, we have a super chat from our friend Jason Barr. I saw it there, right there. Jason, what do you say? What makes great fathers is very forgiving children. Yeah, there you go, man. I mean, isn't that the truth? Yeah. Man, I'll tell you, we're gonna have to turn this big old guy here. It's going the wrong direction. It's very interesting, gentlemen, having a young child, raising a young child at my age. I'm 53 and I have a 5-year-old who is there's a wide gulf between the 53-year-old myself and a very hyper energetic 5-year-old, right? But one thing that I have learned is I forgot how to have fun with the simple things in life. I got that thing going the right direction there. Oh goodness, we have a super chat. We have a super chat from our friend John Caniford. Shout out to you, John, for that. Who writes, "What was the deal with the county or the city forcing you not to let you build the second shop close to the main shop?" Well, it was initially the county, and we had given up and picked a different location, and then they relented. I don't know if they relented. They didn't even tell us what happened. I got to turn my heater on. I'm getting cold in here. They just said, your permit's ready. We couldn't believe it. So Mrs. W went in there and pulled it. Well, this was kind of on my fault. When I met with the builder, the concrete guy, we were looking at it. We were thinking, yeah, it should fit in here, but we didn't really put a laser on it. Well, when I put a laser on it and started looking at the elevations, the cut was going to be pretty deep on the south side. So deep that I was going to have to regrade the road and change some of the irrigation system and do a pretty significant amount of dirt work to do it properly, so it would be guaranteed not to flood. It probably wouldn't have flooded, but I just didn't want to run that risk. So At the same time, Mrs. W and I had decided that we want to live in a smaller home, and that we're going to be building that next door. So we had the shop. We're going to need a shop over there anyway, so we put it over there on that location. So that will be the shop or the studio, whatever we decide to do for the new house. And then the house we're in now, Lord willing, that we'll hopefully to turn that into maybe a community center for our events, which would speed up the whole timeline rapidly. So that's kind of the plan right now. But everything's in flux, but that's what we're working towards. But thank you for that super chat. Yeah. I'll grab you here just a minute, Jason. Let's roll this a couple times. Oof. This also would be a very good barricade log to have roll that up at the front entrance. I'd only need half, probably cut it in half. Nobody's getting by that. Okay, Jason. Well, Jason says, have a nice topic. As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. We were close, brothers. Yeah, and that's interesting. As a topic, as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Yeah, and so what Jason's talking about there is as in the days of Noah, it goes on to say they were, eating and drinking. People were going along as nothing had changed. Now, what was going on was Noah. It took him 40 years to build the ark, him and his sons. So that whole time, Noah was basically anointed as like a prophet-like character of the time. God does not ever do anything. We better talk about this. God does not ever do anything major, like a massive flood, or without sending a prophet to warn his people, to give people a chance to repent and to turn back to him. And he provides a way for them to be saved. And I forget the timeline. Maybe one of the guys can chat in here, but I think it was 40 years it took Noah and his sons to build that boat, that ark. Well, people were asking, word got around in the days, the world was a lot smaller then. I would imagine that the population was realizing that this crazy man was building an ark, that no one had seen anything like that, because at that time there was no rain. The good book tells us that the water came up from underneath, and it was God watered everything from below. And there's some people that believe that if you drill deep underneath, what ultimately is there is water, that there's water below and above the firmament, and it's not what people say it is. I'm not telling you what to believe, but there's some people that believe that, and there's scripture that could kind of make that argument. So it's just one of those incredible mysteries. So when God was, through Noah, was warning the people that the rains are going to come, and you need to, pay attention. You need to change your ways. People mocked him, made fun of him, and no one really paid any attention to it. And I would imagine after so many years, of people coming by and jeering and mocking and making fun of him, they finally just got tired of it, and he probably worked in peace for quite some time. Well, I would imagine when, of course, it was a divine intervention to get the animals to come onto this boat, and there was 2 by 2, as we're told in the book, but what people don't realize that there were 7 by 7 on the clean animals. So things that were like beef cattle, or things that could have been animals for eating, there were more. There were 7 and 7. So that in itself should have got people to pay attention. You start seeing animals walking in, going against what's natural. You would maybe wake up and pay attention to that. Like, well, what's this? Maybe we should go talk to Noah and see what's up. And also, interesting thing that the ark in itself is basically a type of Christ. Noah wasn't saved by his own efforts. He was saved because he got on the boat, because he accepted Christ. Like, Christ is the ark for us. Christ will take us through the storm, through the tribulation in the final days, but we just have to get on. Whoever gets on is going to be saved. It's as simple as that, as in the days of Noah. So yeah, that's a good, if you want to go back and read that story and understand what is God doing, what is he trying to say, what are those people doing, what is the prophet saying, and try to make sure that our eyes are open so we can see any parallels that will come, because God will send his prophet or prophets, who knows, in those days to warn his people. But will these people be listening? Will you and I be listening? Can we clear out all the clutter and all of the noise of the world and hear the warnings? But we're also told to be very careful, because there's going to be false prophets. There's going to be people coming to claim to be Christ that will have a little bit of truth, and it will entice a lot of people away from God and lead them to their destruction. And those people will be deceived because they don't know the 66 books. They don't know the original Word of God. That's why it's so critical for us to know these stories and understand, so that we won't be deceived. It's how many times in the Bible are we warned, do not be deceived, brothers, do not be deceived. God warns us that Christ over and over again, because it's a real concern in these final days. So we need to be vigilant. But yeah, that's a very good topic. Come on now, hit that thumbs up. It's a whole lot better than sitting in a stinky old church pew, isn't it? You're getting the Word of God here, if you like it or not. We're not making apologies anymore. It's time for us to march boldly into the kingdom, gentlemen. You guys will be bringing up these Old Testament topics. I'm going to have to be brushing up on my Old Testament. Tonight, I'm going to get my tea. I'm going to start rereading again. Okay, you guys can't see the log rolling there. Let me pull you back here. I'm really terrible at this live streaming. I apologize, gentlemen. But you just got to get in and start doing it. That's how you get better. Good to see you, Harry. Mrs. W and I are doing, well, we're not doing so good right now. We're not together. Mrs. W is, she's away for a week, and she'll be back on Monday. But I talked to her today, and she's doing well. Oh, goodness. We have a super chat from our friend John Caniford. Shout out to you, John. And John writes, what's John write? I've got to say that father conversation really hit home with me. Thank you for stopping the machine to just share. I missed the manly manners at the end of the episodes. Well, I appreciate that, John. Thank you. Well, we'll just make our own manly manners. We don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they'll be back or not. Once I found out they were written by a woman, I never looked at them the same. But shout out to you, John. Thank you for your generosity. We have a super chat from our friend Andrew Collins. Shout out to you, Andrew. And Andrew writes, how do you study the scriptures? Do you use commentaries or reading plans? Or do you just sit down and read cover to cover? Do you know what I like to do? Here's what we should do, guys. Who would be interested in doing this? I started it and never finished it. It doesn't matter if you don't finish it. But what I like doing, and I'll start over, is writing it. translating the whole thing. So if we're gonna, we're gonna go through the Old Testament. I think we can skip. I'm not gonna. How could we do this? Let me think about it. But here's the idea. I'll put it out there and let me know what you think. What's really helpful for me is to have a good place where you can sit down at a desk and have a half hour or so just to be quiet and study. Have a tea and have a nice environment where you're not going to be bothered, and a good pen. It's nice to write with a fountain pen or a quill. Not a quill, but a fountain pens are nice, or just a really high quality ballpoint pen and some good paper that takes ink nice, and start writing it. And just writing it and just translating it and just do like one paragraph per day or whatever it takes you for a half hour. It's really interesting how you can really focus on what you're doing as you're reading a sentence and you're writing it and you just kind of rereading it and you really become familiar with it. Because for me, if I write something down, I can remember it better. It would take a long time, but what a cool thing to do if you could transfer the whole thing on your papers. It would be quite a ream of papers, wouldn't it? And to go through the whole, all 66 books that way. I've never been able to do it. There's some dudes that have, but I've always thought that was kind of cool. So maybe we can do something like that. So we're just, we're working all that out now. But thank you, Andrew. Yeah, no, I don't read cover to cover. I have a pretty good understanding of it. I just go back. Reading plans are helpful. I've never been able to stay on them, but I don't know. It just seems that if you are real prayerful with your reading and studying, it seems that God kind of helps you to direct you to things that you need to hear. And so it's hard to reread those same old stories over and over again sometimes. But what's so incredible about the good book is that it's unlike other books. You can read something and know it by heart and then reread it in a different time in your life. And God opens your eyes to a new meaning that you didn't even know was there, a new application that you didn't know was there. So it's phenomenal. That's happening a lot more now these days with God calling his people together. He's opening people's eyes. He's opening, I think we're going to have insights and understanding of the 66 that even that none of the fathers in the past have known. God is going to open our eyes to truths that are in there that have been hidden from us. The good book tells us that we now see through a glass dimly. He gives the analogy of trying to see prophecy or see the future or see what it is that God has in store for those who love him, that we see it dimly. We're seeing it only through the eyes of the prophets. But in those latter days, it seems to me, or I have got the impression that lens is going to start to come into focus. And who gets to see this, I don't know. Maybe that's a spiritual gift given to individuals. Maybe it's given to the prophet that will come, but I don't know. But we need to know the scriptures so that we won't be deceived. And we won't follow a false prophet thinking that we're on the right side of God and the whole time we're not. That's our biggest danger. That's the biggest warning. That's what God said at the end time, that it's going to be so bad and the false prophet's going to deceive so many folks, so many people, that I'm going to shorten those days. They're even going to be cut off a little bit because it's just too dangerous. It's just too tempting even for the saints to fall in line, that they might start following the false prophet. We have a super chat from our friend Chet Goodnow. Chet Goodnow. Shout out to you, Chet. Chet writes, what is a good Bible story lesson my grandmother and I can both relate to? Well, reading the book of John is always, John was a good writer. He absolutely loved Jesus. They were very close. He was definitely in the inner ring. And he writes, I think, probably the most readable of the Gospels. I would start with that. Or the story of Ruth is very nice if you want to do something from the Old Testament. All right, gentlemen, let's get back to work here. Sit here so long, my security's going to lock out. We're almost there with this log. Oof, that one came back on us a little bit. Oh, we gotta rotate. Rotate.
Oh, thank you, Overton. I always chuckle at what it must be like the neighbors watching you stop. It's so funny, dude. That my neighbor, who is a hard boiled, old school logger. He's so ornery that I don't think a lot of the local folks like him too much, but I like him a lot. He's actually a really good guy. But when I first met him, he didn't think too much of me. This was his father's land, and I didn't know anything about farming, and he was asking me, so what are you going to do with the land? Are you going to farm? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. And he was just shaking his head like he was just in disbelief. And then he'd see me running around with motorcycles and the snow bikes on the land, and then running around the tripod, and then tractors. He just couldn't figure it out. I think it was crazy, but he asked me to do a couple things with the culverts, and I did them right away. And anyway, him and I got along just fine. So I'd actually say we're friends. But he's he just shakes his head, man. I go by on my one wheel doing a live stream. It's pretty funny. I'd love to get him on to tell a story about what happened. You wouldn't believe what happened to him in a yarder. It was a yarder accident up on a landing from here. It was unbelievable. I'll have to share it with you. But if I don't think he would ever get on. He's not that type of guy. But he told me the story. I know it well enough I could share it with you. It was incredible. We are almost there. We got about 50 feet to go. Maybe he lurks in the chat. Oh, maybe. No, he's a good dude. We helped him with the irrigation stuff. Jack and I did, and Jariah. He's really knowledgeable. He knows the mountain just about better than anyone I've ever met, maybe the best. I'm going to change direction here a little bit. Oh, Miss Pants, get out of the way. He might. You never know who's watching. Our peak time during the day. If I upload, normal content with shorts and stuff, could be the views can be up to 6,000 views a minute. So it's a lot of people are watching. You just never know who. Oh, we got this thing's number. All right, Mr. K. Oh, we have a super chat from John. Sorry, John. Oh man, I'm pushing buttons here. Goodness, I'm absolutely a Luddite with this stuff. It's just terrible. We have a super chat from John Caniford. Shout out to you, John. The last super chat for me, and I'm off here for a while. Get yourself a bottle of Maker's Mark on me. Oh, I don't drink anymore. I gave it up, but I do appreciate that. And have a good night. Sleep well, and thank you for your generosity. We'll see you. We'll see you when we see you. Yeah, life is better. Mrs. W and I both quit drinking. Life is definitely better without alcohol. We'll both say the same thing. That was a good one. We got the roll down. Let's straighten it up a little bit.
We'll know in our hearts who the prophet is. Well, it's not enough to know it in your heart. That's the problem with that doctrine. I hear that a lot. I don't. I mean, I'm gonna jump on you here a little bit because I think that's dangerous. To feel something or to know something in your heart, I'll just know it in my heart that it's right. What good does that do for everyone else? What if I don't feel it? What if it's heartburn? What if it's indigestion that you're feeling? Emotions are not reliable. We need proof and evidence. If we have proof and evidence, that's we have to be able to compare it with Scripture. So that's not what we're looking for. Yes, I do believe that we'll certainly know it, but we also need to compare it and contrast it with what we know to be true, which is the Word of God. So don't be looking for, oh, I'll just have a special feeling or warm and fuzzies when the prophet's here. That's not the case. We need to test him, whether he be for right or for wrong, or for true, be on the side of truth. Even Christ, even he even warned the apostles. He's like, don't believe it because you're seeing it here. Here's the story. When he warned John the Baptist, here's a perfect example of that. And this is, Christ is an example unto us of how we ought to be conducting ourselves and handling our affairs with men and with the world, right? So to paint the picture for you, John the Baptist, which was Christ's cousin, he was the forerunner of Christ. He was the man out in the wilderness proclaiming that the Messiah was coming. So he was this crazy guy out in the forest, and he had a big woolly coat on with a leather belt around it. He was wearing weird clothing and probably a big beard, and he lived off of locust and honey and lived out in a cave and was out there preaching. Well, people started hearing and going out there, and word got out, and he was preaching, repent, because the Son of God is coming, the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world, the Messiah that the Jewish people had been looking forward to for a long time, right? So he was out there doing, and he was baptizing. So when Christ came out there, he was announcing, that's where the whole thing took place. Well, as time went on a little bit, the leaders didn't like this, and they took John and they arrested him and they threw him in prison. Well, John himself had a small group of disciples that were catering to him and helping him. When you have strong leaders, they oftentimes attract men, and these men were taking care of John when he was in prison, and running messages back and forth. And John started to become very depressed and sad, and he was starting to wonder, is Jesus really the disciple, or really the Messiah? And it probably made it even more difficult for him because he was his cousin. And, the crown sits poorly on relatives. We don't like to see people we grew up with better us. Oftentimes it's hard to believe. Maybe it's been hard for him to believe that. Well, he began to lose his faith while he was in jail. He was hearing stories of what Christ was doing, how he was healing the sick and cleansing, and what had happened at the wedding feast and such, but he was still doubting. He was sitting in prison. He was starting to become discouraged. So he sent a couple of his disciples, would you go ask Jesus a question for me? So we have the recorded story. So these men show up as Jesus is teaching, and they say, John is asking, are you really Messiah, or should we look for another? See, John was doubting this. Well, Jesus was Jesus, right? The Son of God. He could have just said, well, yeah, you go back and tell John that I'm the Messiah and I was the one, and to not despair, and everything will be okay, and I'm out fulfilling prophecy and fulfilling the Word of God. Tell him everything's fine. Did Jesus do that? He didn't. Why didn't he say that? How did he answer John? Well, he said, tell him what you see me doing. What do you see me doing? Well, we see you feeding the 5,000. We see you healing the sick. We see you performing miracles. We hear you preaching the Word of God. As the Roman soldiers that saw him said, never has a man spoke like this man. Obviously, he had a tremendous charisma and aura about him. So they went back and told John. Well, is it him? What did he say? Did he tell you? Well, he just said, no, but this is what he's doing. And then John knew, it is him. Because John knew it wasn't about his feels or his feelings that this was the prophet or the Son of God. he was fulfilling Scripture. John knew his Bible, and John knew that prophecy foretold that the Messiah would be doing these things, would be performing these miracles, something that it would be impossible for any mortal man to do. This was a sign to John that it was the Messiah. So that's the example that Christ gave us, and that's how we look at the world, and that's how we compare and contrast anyone that professes to be preaching the Word of God or a prophet. Even anything that I tell you, and I'm not a man of God. I'm not a teacher of the Word. I'm just sharing with you what I know, and I probably don't understand half of it. So compare it. That's why you need to know. Don't take anything I say, and if I'm in error, then correct me, and I'll make those corrections. So that's why we need to be in it. That's why I need to be in it, especially in rereading those old stories, so I can share them properly. Yeah, does that make sense? So the warm, fuzzy feeling's nice, and our Mormon friends, they have the burning in the belly. They have a similar doctrine to that. It is dangerous. It is dangerous, and it is not It is not Christianity. Get off my soapbox now, huh? We're going to have to set our feelings aside, all of us. All of us are going to have to be humbled and realize that we've been in error. Things that we have believed our entire life, God's going to make the truth clear. That's probably a good spot for that. I think we'll leave it well enough alone. This is pants on the scent of something. Brothers, we don't have homelands. We think these lands belong to us, but they do not. Let me show you something. I'll prove that point right here. You see yonder hills there? It's hard to see right there, but up there, I can't zoom you up, right up there in those hills are millions and millions of board feet of the most premium construction material, lumber, wood, in the world. One of the most valuable resources in the country. And yet we cannot even touch it. Can't have it, can't have anything to do with it. That is the king's forest. So you think that you have ancestral lands as an American? You think you own this place, that this is your native land, that this is yours to do with and enjoy its resources? That is all held by private corporations and the government. And you can't even, if you go up there and try to remove one of those trees, of those millions of trees in that forest, you'll be thrown in a cage and everything you have taken from you if you continue to do it. Right there. So that's what you're going to fight and die for? Who are you fighting? What are you protecting? Have you looked at it that way before? Because that's the way that it is. Yeah, not only the pharaohs, but Lucifer himself, when he tempted Jesus in the wilderness, and we were warned that that they can, these enemies can come and have the appearance of an angel of God. That's why we can't, gentlemen. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. We cannot be deceived by emotions and these feelings. If a manifestation of what appeared to be an angel of God, and just the appearance, we know. We know from the Roman soldiers, as I said, that they fell down as dead men just being in the presence of one when they guarded the tomb. So terrifying and so powerful is this being. And this being shows up as an angel of God saying, God sent me to do this and I want you to do thus and so. And what he's telling us goes against what we know to be the word of God, then we're not to listen to that and to rebuke that. So we're going to, not being deceived that's our biggest danger. That's the biggest risk that we run, is being deceived. That's why we have the book. And that's why you need to know the book. Oh man, I'm all crooked there. There you go. My camera's all wonky there. Let's get you sorted out. There we go. That's a good looking emoji there, Steven. It's going to be time for me to make another round of emojis. I've got some ideas. We'll have to do something with a tremendicle. You're welcome, Jack. Good to see you here. Oh goodness, we have a super chat from the Bored Swede. Shout out to you, the Bored Swede. And he writes, I just finished watching Top Winter Car Tips and Tricks. You need to know, and I agree with every point you made except when it comes to the blankets. Well, are you taking issue with my Pendleton blankets are the best blankets in the world? You could be onto something. You tell me, what's the Swedish, what do I say, equivalent or the superior? You know, we're all about Sweden here. Mrs. W, my wife, is quarter Swedish and speaks the language fluently, or half Swedish, excuse me. Her mother is Swedish, and their family still lives in over outside of Stockholm. And I've been over there several times, and I really enjoy going over there. I love Sweden. I love to go into your hardware stores, and your grocery stores, and your candy store. Well, the Dutch candy stores are pretty good too. But thank you for that super chat. Shout out to you. We have a second super chat from the Bored Swede who writes, I've seen that you need at least 4 army blankets in the car during winter because of the car crashes that happen during winter storms. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you do. It really would be a good idea to have 4. You're probably going to be, just with one, you're going to be sharing it with 4 people, because it seems like on those winter things, you get people that go up there with their families and they don't know how to drive in the snow, or they're not used to that subalpine environment, and they get in trouble. But yeah, 4 blankets. But that's I mean, you get to the point in life that you just can't protect everyone from everything. You go crazy trying to do that. It is aggravating when you go and do things with people where you really need to be prepared. Like, there's some dudes that I just won't go. I won't take up moto on the mountain or snow biking because they're just too seat of the pants for me. They're not up on their maintenance, in my opinion. They don't have the right tires and the bike setup, and I don't trust them and the gear, and their problem ends up becoming my problem. I mean, I'm meticulous about my bike. I ride up there solo, so I'm super meticulous. So when I'm building my bike, I'm thinking, how can I make this thing the most reliable thing in the whole world? Because I don't want to have any problems. One thing that gets damaged, one thing that's broken that I could have prevented with a guard or just some forethought, it would be terrible. So to go up with those guys and then they break down, well, I have to stay there with them and help them. I'm not going to abandon them. So I'm careful with who I go with. But thank you for that. It's good to see Sweden in the house. Goodness, we have a super chat from Michael Brumlow. Shout out to you for $99. Goodness, that is very, very, very generous of you. Thank you. No comment. I thank you for your support. We're sure to appreciate that. That was extremely generous. All right, let us proceed, gentlemen. As in the days of Noah, so will the second coming of man be, or the coming of the Son of Man be. I'm just warm as a bug in a rug in my exoskeleton here. It's got a heated seat. Goodness, this makes you soft. It's when you're working, especially when you have a man outside, there's this condition that operators tend to develop. It's a little crass, but I'll say it anyway. It's called operator ass. And it usually comes around when it starts to get cold, especially towards the end of the day, where operators don't like to get out of their warm equipment out in the cold to help the ground guys. So I have been guilty of that myself. Hello, Alan. Good to see you here. Oh, the Nephilim. Yeah, an incredible mystery there. Yeah, people say, who is John Galt? I say, who is Melchizedek? I just butchered that. Someone spell that out for me. Who's that shadowy prophet in the Old Testament? Melchizedek. Thank you, Melchizedek. That was so high or low on the totem pole. Did you know that the totem pole, they say you don't want to be the low man on the totem pole? The low man on the totem pole was actually the chief. The high man was the low man. So that's misunderstood out here in this area anyway. But this strange character, this mysterious character, this Melchizedek in the Old Testament blessed Abraham. Now we know that the greater blesses the lesser, right? The master blesses the teacher. So the only way, there was a prophet of God in those days. That's the only thing that I can take away from that, which is pretty amazing. So was the prophet of God teaching outside all of the tribes, before Abraham? Who knows? That's an incredible mystery, that Melchizedek. That's something I can't say I completely understand. And I wouldn't be alone in that. I wouldn't trust anyone that says they know exactly who he was and what that's all about. It's all right. Just because we don't understand something doesn't mean it's not true. What's the best version of the Bible? That's a good question. Oh, goodness. Look at young Jack. You are the best son in the world. I'm live streaming.
Hi.
Look what he brought me. Oh, goodness. The problem with this cedar, as we call them, is it's all on or all off, and it's pretty hot. Pretty hot. Jack just brought me a sandwich, hot sandwich. The question was, what version of the Bible? Is it for a newbie? Ask that again. There. Are you talking about? Oh, he brought me a hamburger, a cheeseburger. Look at that. Can I eat? I can't eat and talk at the same time. I like the King James version. The older I get, I go back to that. That was definitely the Bible of my youth. That can be a barrier for people, though, and I think language should not be a barrier for people to experience the Word of God. So I'm reluctant to look down on anyone that chooses, less traditional translations. But a really good one, I think, if you want to stick with a conservative translation that remains very true and is very reliable, would be the New American Standard. Is a good one. New American Standard, King James, New King James, and King James are the three that I like. Now I've got a lot of the other ones. It's fun to compare and contrast, but those three, New American Standard, New King James, and King James is what I use. But I can teach out of any of them, so it doesn't matter. I don't adhere to any of them, but those are my favorites. All right, let's get back to our work here. Yeah, you guys were wanting to, if we were going to cover a story on the next live stream, if we were going to read up on something, if I gave you an assignment, we'll do Old Testament, start with the Old Testament. What story would that be? Any ideas? All right, here we go. Our neighbors did our hay for us, and we just split the hay. They just took what hay they wanted to cover their cost. That one's pretty big there. I might buck that one. Let's see on that one. Melchizedek. I'm not afraid to preach or to be getting into Melchizedek preach. Look at me. Goodness, I overestimate myself. I wouldn't want to start with that. That's a pretty heavy one, and you need to understand all of the backstories with Abraham. You need to understand everything, the covenants and the agreements and what's transpired with Lot and all of that. I think to really understand that, without that, I don't know that it would be of benefit to anyone. We have to remember that there's going to be a lot of our brothers here that have not heard these stories, or not heard them outside the context of it being told from for a child. We want to know these stories because we need to know how to react to future situations, as well as how God deals with his people before he's about to make a major move. And he's about to make the most major move. I mean, this is a bigger deal than we'll have more. If we're still alive at the second coming, we'll have more to talk about than the antediluvians did. I think it's going to snow soon, gentlemen. That's a pretty big boy right there. Trying to eat my sandwich. The flood came that year. He died. Yeah, that's right. He never saw it. Yeah. Like going through a minefield here. I'm running the joystick with my the wrong hand. Got my knee running something else here. But we're getting it done. Oh, goodness. I have to pay attention here. This is a difficult multitask. You know what would really make this whole thing complete would be to be flying a drone right now. Mount Fuji. is under cloud right now. Oh, can you see it? Nope, right through there. If she comes out, I'll bring it. I'll show you. Yeah, it's a little. Oh, you can see her right there. Here we go. A very slight view. I can't zoom up right there, but you can see her right through there, right there. Gonna have a beautiful sunset. What's up, Mike? Mike says, Cody, we have a group from North Carolina ready to come work at the community center. Well, hopefully this will all happen. It's scary building a house right now. There's a lot of small builders that are absolutely destroyed right now that have a bunch of projects. You see, it's really hard to get news. And all of this is being kept from you so that you don't panic, but things are getting pretty woolly out there. On the building side of it, any independent builders or smaller builders right now that have projects going, because of a lot of guys start speculating, a lot of builders and building houses like crazy, and they're paying, they got a lot into them. They're paying these high lumber prices and inflation and all that because the market was so hot. There's dudes that have a whole bunch of houses sitting right now that just to finish them is going to cost them $100,000 of loss, even if they can sell it, because the houses, the value of these things are plummeting. And there's so many under construction. I mean, there's some of the bigger companies, like the Hortons and stuff, are going to be able to absorb this, but not small guys. A guy that's got a guy that's got 3-4 houses, can he afford to eat $250,000? So we're looking at building right now. It's hard to know, but it doesn't matter. All this stuff. I have to remember that all of this stuff is about. A lot of this stuff is about fear, and we're told don't be fearful. And you realize if you're operating inside the will of God, if you're operating inside His will, then what the economy does or what a politician does, or none of those things are going to matter. So there's a time to go forward in faith, but you also don't want to go forward foolishly. The good book tells us, I want you to be harmless as doves, of course, as my disciples, but I also want you to be as wise as serpents. Don't do things foolishly. And that means, for us, if you're giving to a Christian causes, you have an obligation to make sure that that's a worthy cause. Mrs. W and I, we have, for almost 20 years, we've tithed to the church, 10%. And that's plus plus anything else that comes up. If there's someone in need, any additional givings that you would do would be on top of that. But just a straight 10% right off the top that we've given to the church, and we've always just let them kind of distribute it. But as of the last couple years, we don't do that anymore. We still pull the 10% out, but we apply it in towards the community, so it goes right directly where it might do some good. So whatever that might be. So we keep everything anonymous, but we just that's what we do. So rather than give it to the church where it's going through, and who knows how much of it is being lost with administration and such, this way we could just go right to the source. And God puts it just brings things and situations into your life where you have opportunities to do those sort of things. An amazing thing about the Almighty is He'll test you, and it'll be hard for you to give, especially if you don't have a lot. Sometimes if you're giving out of your need, you might be asked to give something that you don't have to give. That could be a tough call. But in those situations, I can tell you always, every single time without fail, when I would listen and make that go forward in faith, that He would provide fivefold, tenfold, so much more where you didn't even know you were without. You had more. He's not interested in your money. He's interested in do you trust Him? And that's, unfortunately, that's where our hearts are. So that's where He meets us. We might be sharing a beautiful sunset here shortly, gentlemen. No, Attila, we do not attend church weekly. Mrs. Debbie and I are going to have to make a decision pretty soon or whether or not we're going to do a home church. Well, shout out to you, Michael Brumlow, again. That was a very generous super chat. We sure do appreciate that. You guys want to go take a peek at the river here before it sunsets? This is where the good fishing is, right here. This is where I see them jumping. They're pretty cagey. They are... the water is very clear, and so you got to sneak up on them. But there's a pretty good cut bank right here. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, you might even see one. Yeah, they're pretty. When it gets cold, they're pretty docile. You don't know that I see them jumping too much, and usually it's in the warm evenings when the bugs are hatching. You see them coming up. It's a beautiful little river, though. I have not, the erosion, no, we have not heard back yet. It's in the hands of the bureaucracy, so who knows. We have a super chat from Xavier Gosselin. Shout out to you, Xavier. And he writes, "Hey Cody, you should come snowbiking here in Quebec, Canada." Well, now that if you invite me, Jack and I will come up there. Or if he can't make it, he's pretty active with debate, but I will come up there. I've been wanting to snowbike up there so bad, but the border's been closed down because without COVID vaccinations, and I'm a pureblood, so I don't have any of that. So I didn't even think I would ever maybe go up there again. But yeah, if you have the hookup on that, let me know. You can email me, Cody@Wranglerstar.com. I would love to do that. But thank you for that super chat. Thank you for that super chat. Is it Xavier? Did I get that right? I'm not a smart man. I do my best. I suffer from a public education, which was a tremendous waste of time. I'm still unprogramming myself from that. Yep, pure blood for life, that's for sure. I know people did what they did because they were scared, but I can't help but draw an analogy between the soldiers that drank from their hands versus the soldiers that drank and lapped like an animal in Gideon's army. I don't know why I keep coming back to that, but there's just there's something there. That was a test. Oh, getting cold again. Get the cedar on. My door's got these doors don't close very good. Oh, there I got it. I had a big gap there. It wasn't quite latched. Hey, did we decide on a book? Were we going to read a book from the Old Testament? A story? I was not watching. I got wrapped up in what I was doing. Oh, rolling over a log here. Nah, maybe I should just pick something. I'm trying to think of what would be most applicable to our current dilemmas and struggles, gentlemen. What portion of the Old Testament could we draw inspiration from people that were dealing with an occupying force? That's pretty much most of the Old Testament, isn't it? You see, little has changed. Maccabees? No, we're not doing Maccabees. You're getting into that's an apocryphal book that's in our Catholic friends' Bible. But as a Protestant, that's not considered to be part of the canon, as most theologians would agree, including our Catholic friends. Interesting for reading, but would not be considered doctrine. None of the apocryphal books are put in some of the Bibles. Some of the older ones you might find that maybe even some of the German Bibles in the middle, or is it at the middle or at the end? I don't recall. You read them and you'll see for yourself. I'm not. Just don't believe it because I'm saying it. Go read them yourself and you'll find out that they're not on the same level. There's a lot of ridiculousness in there, like Peter commanding bed bugs to do particular things, and Jesus getting angry at some young boys that were taunting him and turning mud into something to harass them, or it's got some strange things. It's not part of the 66. Twin 223, I understand. I'm missing my dad as well. It's a rough thing to deal with. It's a cruel old world we live in. Oh, sun's behind the clouds there. We'll go until sunset, gentlemen. got a big old mean one here to do. If we can sneak it, there's a couple of them here. Sneak in there and grab them. Slide these little nuggets out of the way. A high drive track Caterpillar track loader is just about the best thing in the whole world. You can do everything and you don't even have to get out of the cab. You can even change the implements. Incredible. Super compact, it goes everywhere, and you can pull it around with a normal pickup truck. I can see why so many guys have them. Took me a long time to see the light, but I see it now. Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna do that, Phil. We're gonna, when the snowblower, this is kind of a test rig for that. I bolted a permanent mount onto the frame, and I've got a magic arm, Matthew's arm on it, and a real lightweight mount. So I wanted to see if it would hold up. It's got a little bit of vibration I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with. One thing we can do is I could stream it right from my GoPro camera, and that has the best stabilization ever. But we don't get forward facing. You know, the iPhone really is the thing. I've got the new one coming. It should be here pretty soon. The 14 Pro Max, and I buy a new iPhone. I used to buy every other year, but I buy new iPhones now as soon as they come out because I use them. It's really my B camera. It probably is going to become, once I do more streaming, it's probably going to become my A camera. So I'll have two, and I'll have my 13 and then the 14. They're just, the cameras are so good, and the dynamic range is getting so good. I shot ProRes a couple days ago on the iPhone, and I was editing it, and I forgot for a moment that I was in the iPhone. I thought that I was editing footage from my cinema camera. It was so good. The dynamic range was so good. I couldn't believe it, and just the convenience. It's incredible. This device is incredible. We have two cameras we can switch back and forth from. It's streaming for us. I'm able to communicate with you guys all on it. It's an incredible machine, a piece of equipment. Absolutely is. We have a new member, Wayne Johnson. Shout out to you, Wayne. Welcome to the family, to the brotherhood here. Those clouds are those clouds are going to spoil our sunset, aren't they? Welcome, Wayne. Welcome, Carl. Good to see you. Carl, one of our top moderators. Hello, Third Pass. Matthew 10:28. Refresh my memory. What is that? I've been working on memorizing the whole book of John, but I don't have Matthew memorized, that's for sure. Yeah, Beth says the book of Jeremiah. You know, it's really important. I think the most important thing this is what we should do, gentlemen, is right here. Like Beth was saying, you know, she recommends the book Jeremiah, and we'll say that, Beth, you know, me being familiar with it, I understand, you know, I know the stories, and I think in my mind, oh yeah, that would be something that we could apply to today's struggle, right? But how applicable is it to someone that doesn't have the big picture, the timeline, so to speak? One of the things that we taught our children, Jack and what Mrs. W is working on with Mrs. W, is we have a song called the Timeline Song. And they learn the Timeline Song through all of the civilizations through the earth. through time. Excuse me. Let me get some water. So what that gives Jack, and will give the sweet loaf, is that if they hear about the Mesopotamians, or hearing about Alexander the Great or the pharaohs, for a lot of us, those are just snapshots in time that we don't really have any context to, because we don't really know where that fell in history. So knowing the timeline song, you know how you do you learn little songs to trick your mind. You can sing the song in your mind, and you'll know the sequences, and you'll be able to know in time where that's at. So having that reference makes the whole story a lot more vivid and more interesting. I think it's important for us to know the big picture. So what happened? There was a flood, and who's this Abraham dude, and what Gideon, and what are you talking about? What about who are these dudes that drank like an animal from the stream, and how does that help me today? How does that help me with my problems? Well, it doesn't if you don't have the context. So what we need to do is to figure out a way where we can get a very broad, a 60,000 foot overview of walking through the scriptures, to try to get an overview of what is going on, so that when we circle back after that, and we're going to go in and we're going to get down in the weeds and get deep into Jeremiah and start working on the prophecies, then we'll have an understanding. But to jump right in there, you can't. You have to give the child the soft food first before you can give him the hard food. Seems to me. Now, how do we do that? How do you get the 60,000 foot picture with a 60,000 foot view when you have people with short attention span, and younger people don't want to sit through all of that? They don't want to maybe come back. So I don't know. We're gonna have to pray about that. Pray for me. Keep me in your prayers, and we'll come up with a solution that would work. 'Cause that would be interesting, and it would be a really interesting way to look at God's word. We can go back through all the heroes. Or maybe we just tackle the heroes. Maybe we go back and we go through Samson's life. The book is reading the story of Samson. It doesn't take very long. But there's a lot of, for those of us who are worried about being preyed upon by Western women and how predatory they've become, there's going to be some really good lessons in that story from Samson, as well as Jezebel and Ahab. Or Ahab, Jezebel. What was Jezebel's husband's name? Come on now, help me out with that. Did I have that right? What was Jezebel's husband's name? Ahab. I had it right. Goodness. I'm a little shaky on that. That's why I don't teach. Yeah, do you know the story of Jezebel and what she did? That spirit of Jezebel is still with us today. More now than in many times in history. All right, let's get this last one here. We'll have to come back and revisit this, gentlemen. This is going to be a multi-day project. There's a lot of material here. I think for the smaller stuff, what we'll do is we'll bring the dump trailer down here, and we'll maybe see if we have any luck. We can just drop it in there. And then dump it all there. Jezebel. Yeah, Jezebel's end is Jezebel died in the streets without being buried and eaten by dogs. As an example to future 304s. Yeah, the blood licked up by the dogs. Lapped up by the dogs. Okay, gentlemen, I think I'm going to just drop this one here and head in. The clouds are covering up the sun. We're not going to see the sunset anyway, so I'll take you back to the shop and we'll shut her down. Man, I am looking forward to the Sabbath. Hey, what time is sunset? Can anyone hit me in the comments? What time is sunset on the Pacific, on the West Coast? Exactly. "24 hours of rest, doing whatever I want to do. Sipping my tea by the fire with a sweet loaf." Jack's got a girlfriend that is a delightful young lady that we would do Thursday evening games with, but she's coming over and having supper with us. I see her car's here. She's here already. But we've really been enjoying that. Jack, it's good to see Jack happy, and the two of them are a nice couple, and just couldn't ask for a nicer girl. All right, let's see. Let's sneak in the back way. $4:49. What time is it right now? I didn't set my watch. I don't have my second watch. I don't even know what time it is. Well, tell me this. How much time do I have until sunset? It doesn't matter. It looks like about 10 minutes, probably 10 minutes judging from the sun. Maybe 15, no, maybe 20. It's got to go below those mountains. Oh, looks like the dead battery on the mic. Sorry, guys. We're back on camera audio. We're back. Okay, so remind me next time to be sure that I have an extra microphone battery. Those batteries are supposed to last 4 hours, but I don't think we've been streaming for 4 hours. Over 2 hours. Oh, Jack's friends. Oh, his buddy's here and his girl. Okay, I see. There's two white cars here. Well, we got a full house tonight. It's really good having a house that the teenagers are comfortable being, hanging around and want to have their friends over. Mrs. W and I realized that was let's bring the exoskeleton into the shop tonight. Let her keep Mama Kitty warm. But having Mrs. W picked up on this way before I did, but she kept saying, I think we need to have the kids need to have a place that they feel comfortable, where they have kind of a place of their own. Because when Jack's girlfriend is coming over, it's not appropriate for them. We talked to her parents as well. It's not appropriate for them to be in each other's bedroom, and Jack didn't really have any other place that was his own. So I sacrificed my editing off my office. So we turn that in kind of into the kids' room and the TV room, and they can be there and hanging out, but they're in the house. They're just one door away, and it opens right into the kitchen, and they can get snacks and stuff, and they have some privacy, and we can go over there, watch movies with them, and hang out. So that's been a good idea and a cool thing to have. We have a super chat from Overton Windex. Shout out to you, Overton, who writes, sunset is 4:38 my time. Which I don't know what time it is now, but it's time to go in. That's what time it is. All right, I'm going to pull you guys back here. We'll roll inside. So switch. We'll roll inside there and shut her down. Get the fire going. Oops. Can't get out till you lower all your implements. I'm still learning this crazy thing. At least the camera doesn't open with the door anymore. I'd have to say the mount for the most part was a win. It's pretty versatile. If we want to go outside or jump in the quad or jump in different piece of equipment, it'll snap right off. Quick attach, go right with us. We'll figure it out. This microphone thing seems to be a bit of a problem, but I can get that fixed. I know what we need. We need a gimbal. Maybe we need a gimbal in here. Smooth this all out. That would be perfect. A lightweight gimbal. No, don't judge me. My shop's a disaster. I was emptying every single box I owned to build this rig. I knew I had what I needed. I just needed to empty everything out to figure that out. Fire's still going. Let's go put some wood in that. Man, this is the best day. It's one of the best times of the year. Fall with the promise of snow coming. Sabbath evening. Go inside and take it easy for 24 hours. Not a care in the world. It's the best. I would encourage you, gentlemen, to adopt it into your own schedule. Your family will thank you. You'll thank you. Your God will thank you. Your God need not be thanking you. What he did for us by giving his son for us when we didn't deserve it was... We'll never be able to thank him for that. Okay, look at that. We're snapped into position. We don't have a good microphone. Actually, I can get that going again. Let me grab a battery here. Snap a fresh battery and we should be back in action. Yeah, my goal is to be able to do, IRL regardless of the situation. All right, so I've got a battery in the mic. When that turns green, we'll plug it in. It should work. Yeah, this is just the camera mic that we're talking to right now. How's it going, Mama? Have you been having a good day? What's going on? What's going on, Mama? Do we have greens? Waiting for greens? Red? Sure acting funny. Getting a lot of red lights. That's not a good sign. You wouldn't think electronics would wear out, but it seems they've been giving me problems these last couple days. Come here, Mama. Come on. Come here. Come on. Hello. How are you, darling? Am I not doing it right? What do you want? You want on my lap? Phone audio is better. Was the phone audio better in the skid steer as well? Come on. Come on. She's a good cat. She's not a tame animal, that's for sure. She is not a tame animal. Come on. Oh, she hunts. Yeah, she brings in, the shop is tight, so we don't get any mice in here until the door is open. In the summertime, I'll have the door open, and they'll come around the corner there, and they'll sneak in, and she gets them. She probably get one a week or so. Come on. She brings them over as a prize. Boy, she's so soft. She's ready for winter. You ready for winter? Okay. Let's get that fire going. Goodness, it's cold in here. Shut the door. Oops. Actually, I'm going to put you on my camera stand. I heard something. What's the loaf? After using this camera stand, the old tripods are kind of a burden. You can do this one-handed. All right, let's roll, Mama. We'll get that fire going and head in. There we go. That looks better. Cold. Are you ready, Mama, for a fire? Or a better fire? We've got all these nice small pieces. It's a lot easier for us to have a fire now. Come on. The Stirling engine's barely going. In the shop, back of the shop for a while, so we'll try to stock this up for her tonight. That'll do it. Shut it down. That'll keep her warm all night. All right, gentlemen, that's about it for me. Appreciate you hanging out with us and for all the generosity of the super chats, all the good questions and the topics. I don't know where we'll go with this, but I'll be thinking on that. Get in there and read the old stories. Maybe we'll read through Samson. Take a look at Samson and go back and reread that story about Gideon and his 400. About how, and kind of asking yourself, what is this story telling us about the character of God? What is this telling about us about how he interacts with men in difficult situations? Because that's what we need. So there is truth. If you think that there's no truth and there's nothing you can count on in life anymore, and that everything is in flux and everything is fluid, that's not true. There are some things that are just right, and there are some things that are wrong. And it's just, that's the way it's always been and the way it will always be. And because someone says otherwise doesn't make it so. So you're going to be put under pressure, and you'll have to, something will come up in your life where you'll have to either bend the knee to this new insanity and deny what your eyes see and what your brain tells you out of fear of losing your livelihood or worse, or you will reject it and hold to the old truths and to the Word of God and seek that. That is going to be your anchor. So if you're drifting and you don't feel like you belong and you don't know anything and you're worried about the future, if you want to know what's going on and you want to anchor in something that you can count on in life, someone that won't betray you, that's Jesus. So that's the way that it is. It's not a matter of believing if I believe it or I don't believe it, or you believe it or don't believe it. There's the way that it is, and that's the way that it is. So following him in these final days is going to be tough, and we're going to need to know the Word of God. We're going to need to have the support of fellow brothers, fellow church members, to get through it. So I don't know how God's going to bring everything together. I don't know. Back in the days, we could just look to the old stories. Back in the old times when he wanted to move people, when he was bringing in the events of the first coming, he brought about basically a worldwide census. He put the impression into the Roman leader at the time that he wanted to know, what was going on. And this census, one of the requirements were all people of the Jewish people had to return to their native land. So if they had moved temporarily or were abroad, they had to come home and be counted. And so that caused a massive migration of people to move back to the areas that they grew up in. So I don't know. That's just what he used in the day. So could he use something like that today to bring his people together? I just don't know. We don't know. We still see through that glass dimly, but we don't have to know. He told us not to worry about those things. He has them in hand, that we need to get through the day. So the evil day is enough for us to worry about without those things. We should understand them and strive to know and have our eyes open and keep our lamps lit so that when the message comes, we're ready to respond to it. But until then, we're to occupy until he comes. And that's just the way it is. Thank you, gentlemen. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers. Shout out to all of you who donated in super chats. Shout out to all of you who moderated and the new members. Welcome. Jason Barr. Yeah. And don't lose hope, gentlemen. There is truth, and the truth is found in God's word, and I'm looking forward to it. So see where it takes us. We'll see you guys over on the next video or the live stream.